Well, hello there, friends. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing very well. Hopefully you're living a good and praised life. And hopefully you're thinking about, oh my Lord, I love God. And hopefully you're also thinking about other stuff like, I don't know, beans, maybe? Maybe you're like, oh man, I really do like pinto beans. But like, man, sometimes I just like having black beans. Or refried beans. Lima beans? I don't know if I've ever actually had lima beans. Anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about Meister Eckhart because Meister Eckhart is one of my favoriteest boys. Meister Eckhart is easily probably one of my favorite Christians. He's certainly my favorite Christian mystic off the top of my head. I can think of a couple other Christian saints and figures that I find interesting or that I think are worth reading, but not too many that I like, you know, really, really like on the same level as I like Meister Eckhart. Meister Eckhart is also, I think, I would kind of consider him one of the best sources for one of my theories, which is that like there's a mystical component that can like ties together religions, even religions that seem, very different or seem, oh, this thing again. Maybe I should just try to fight this. But the only problem is that I feel like trying to fight this thing while I want to talk about Meister Eckhart isn't very good. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go this way for now. I'm gonna go the opposite way, and then when I'm done fighting, when I'm done fighting the spirit of Meister Eckhart and his god powers, when I'm done with talking about Meister Eckhart, maybe I'll come back over and attempt to slay the thing. But for right now, I want to talk about Meister Eckhart, and that leads me over here to the nice trees. Look, there's a sheep. But, Meister Eckhart is easily one of my favorites, and if you don't know who he is, he was a Christian mystic in the early Middle Ages, or I guess kind of more like the late Middle Ages. But he's a very interesting guy. And as a quote, I'll start with um, the eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, one love. And there's no one. If the only prayer you said was thank you, that would be enough. And then one more here is spirituality is not learned by flight from the world or by running away from things or by turning solitary and going apart from the world. Rather, we must learn an inner solitude wherever or with whomsoever we may be. We must learn to penetrate things and find God there. And just those three quotes enough would these three quotes alone would be enough to make me love this guy because I think that's the very very insightful and very very true. Like where the longer I've explored spirituality, the more I've found that it's not like the outward solitude that really helps the most. It's finding an inner peace with God and trying to bring that into your everyday interactions that is the most helpful and the most useful. Those are the things that really um, help the most and help uh, make things more understood and make it so that you have a greater understanding and things like that. Oh, hello, little birdies. What the heck? Where the heck did you come from? Look, I played Skyrim. I've killed plenty of bears before, I'll have you know. But whatever. Anyway, and I was going through the collected works of Meister Eckhart, the collected mystical works. No, wait, retrack. The Complete Mystical Works of Meister Eckhart, which is a book that you can get on Amazon. You can also find a PDF online. So that's it's pretty good. And I was going through some of it, and the first sermon I saw there I thought was really worth sharing, and I wanted to share it and then talk a little bit about it. And uh, I want to say that I am very thankful that we live in an age where, like the mystical resources that used to be kind of very difficult to find. You had to go through a lot of hoops and loops and things to find like these mystical texts, and this all this interesting stuff is now, something that you can find pretty easily online and things like that. And here, oh, this is a oh, bye bye. This is a nice little pretty area, I think, to talk about this, and I'm just gonna read it out here. And this is called The Grain of the Mustard Seed. When all began, beyond mind span, the word I is, oh, what bliss. When source at first gave birth to source, O Father's heart, from which did start the same word, yet 'tis averred. The word still kept in wombs perforce. From both from both doth flow a loving glow, in double draught known to both, comes forth from them the Holy Ghost, of equal state and separate. The three are one. Who grasps it? None. I do like that he admits here that nobody really grasps the Holy Trinity, which is kind of funny. The threefold clasp we cannot grasp. The circles span, no mind can scan. For here's a mystery fathomless. Check and mate. Time from a state. The wondrous ring holds everything. Its central point stands motionless. The peak sublime, deedless climb if thou art wise. Introduction to Part 1. The way then lies. Oh, that's got in there by accident. Okay, that's why. Thy way then lies through desert very strange sea, so deep, so wide, no bounds describe. This desert's bare, or then or there. In modeless singularity, this desert place, no foot did place, no creature mind, ingress confined. It is yet truly none knows what. 'Tis there, 'tis here, 'tis far, 'tis near, 'tis high, 'tis low. Yet we all know is. This this it's not, and that it's not. It's clear, it's bright, it's dark as night. No name or sign can it define, beginningless of ceasing, free, immobile, bare, 'tis flowing there, where it may dwell. Whoso can tell should teach us what its form may be, as a child become both blind and dumb. Thy own self's ought must turn to naught. Both ought and naught thou must reject, without a trace of image, time, or space. Go quite astray the pathless way, the desert thou mayest then detect. My soul within, come out, God in. Sink all my ought in God's own naught. Sink down in the bottomless abyss. Should I flee thee, thou wilt come to me. When self is done, then thou art one, thou transcendental highest bliss. Now, part of the reason I like all of this and I like it so much is that, despite coming from a Christian source, in many ways I see little ideas of, Vedanta and other things of the like within it. And I think that's rather interesting to kind of see the transcendental light going from one to another. And as an example, where is it? Where was the no name or sign? Uh, this it's not, and that it's not, which reminds me of 1818. Not this, not this, which is kind of interesting. His Meister Eckhart is basically telling us here that we need to abandon and let go of all of these things that we cling on to. We need to open up our heart and empty it so that God may come in, dwelling within there. And my soul within, come out, God in, sink all my ought in God's own knot. Because the idea here is really more about the idea that God is, in a sense, it's like nothing we can truly comprehend, right? We always try very hard to give these descriptors and these descriptions to God, but the truth is, God is beyond all these things, and God is not this, God is not this. So, what we are really looking for here is taking all these things that we are, and taking all these things that we think of, and taking all these things that, pervade our minds and, are ever flowing there, and try to abandon them so that we can see the truth, which is God is beyond all these things and is not any of these things. God is above all these things. And it's kind of interesting because God is profound and within all things and is all things in a sense, but God is also like not all of these things. Like, yes, God is within the rock, but you would not say, necessarily speaking, that God is the rock. God is of the rock. God is produces the rock. God's essence is there, but like in a sense, we need to abandon our ideas of what the rock is to see God within the rock. You know what I mean, Jimmy Dean? We need to abandon our preconceived notions and our preconceived understandings and stand open, stand with an open mind and open heart in an attempt to really embrace God. And, the truth is that if you, at least according to Meister Eckhart, if you really want room for God in your heart, then you have to empty your heart of all these other things, right? You have to empty your heart of all of the other things there so that God can fill that space. You need to dwell on the emptiness to find that God is actually the emptiness itself and is all encompassing. It's very interesting to me to see these things reflected by this man who just had some real insight and real transcendental experiences and real, loving experiences. He can really see, and this is what I mean by like the mystic experience has a lot of these very common elements in it. And Meister Eckhart, I think, is a really great example of that, where the mystic experience is very common across cultures and peoples, and often they come to different conclusions. But if you, for instance, read about the experiences of someone like Ibn Arabi or Ibn Sabayin, you find that when they talk about their experiences of God, God is completely beyond any of their notions from Islam. God is completely beyond any of their notions that came from Islam. Then they would sometimes try to fit God within those parameters. But I think that if you really look at it, God is beyond any one religious parameter. God is truly beyond all these things. And I really think that someone like Meister Eckhart or Ibn Arabi or Ibn Sabiyin are really worth um, investigating and seeing where the similarities lie and seeing where how the mystical experience unites us across various different traditions. And I am doing more research into, for instance, seeing like even like if pagan mystic tradition and understanding tend to coincide with similar ideas, and they seem to. But I'm going to do more research into that. But yeah, I just thought that this poem was really beautiful. I'm sorry my reading of it wasn't the bestest, but I think it's definitely worth checking out, and it's definitely worth looking into things like this. And I also find the imagery really beautiful. This idea of like the where God really is this desert where there's no footprints because no one truly walks there. Everyone just is there. And I really like that the ending lines here where it's like, should I flee thee? Thou wilt come to me when self is done, then thou art one, thou transcendental highest bliss. I really like that line. But yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys and, get some thoughts out there and maybe see what y'all thought. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little discussion and me sharing my thoughts on Meister Eckhart and all that sort of thing. And I really hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day and, God bless. And hopefully you can all find that transcendental bliss too. It's truly worth lurking for, I would say. Anyway, well, wait, I gotta get off my horse. All right. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.